Welcome to episode 13 of Pinnacle FC. This is another Champions League Matchday broadcast. Matchday 5 in the Champions League. Gareth Wheeler, Jake Osgathorpe with you to break down what this week looks like in the Champions League. We're halfway through. I guess you call this the group stage, Jake. I'm not sure what the terminology is this time around. It's thrilling because of the format. I'm really enjoying this, that each team kind of plays someone different next time. There's not the home and away. And I find researching and digging in on a week-to-week basis when we cover the Champions League, it kind of brings something different to the table all the time. Do you subscribe to that? Are you enjoying the Champions League thus far?
I am, yeah. And everyone who was worried that it was just going to be top-heavy, favourites always near the top of the league because they're the better teams, been proven very wrong. You only have to look at Bayern Munich in 17th, Real Madrid in 18th in this massive league phase to see that you've got Manchester City and Arsenal currently outside the top 8 as well, and you've got teams like Monaco, Brest, Sporting. So there's been quite a lot of upsets, and obviously it also gives those lesser teams, a chance of actually getting quite a few wins on the board against teams that are of a similar level or maybe below them. So all in all, it's just making it a bit more of a well-rounded competition, I think, at this part of the competition. Yeah, I mean, we had a little brief chat, didn't we, about looking at outrights, but it's just so difficult at this stage still to make a full outright play, and we've seen quite a few drifts in the market, haven't we?
Yeah, we sure have. Liverpool leading the way. 4 wins from 4. They're the only side with a perfect record thus far. And oftentimes, like Liverpool, no doubt, have played some good teams in this competition. But to read the table accurately, it takes something a little bit deeper than a superficial read of where the table stands, because it matters who played who and where. Thus far as well. So I think that this could be a pivotal week for a couple sides in the Champions League. We'll dig into that over the course of this episode. Let's deal with the markets, the future markets on Pinnacle very briefly. City are still odds on despite their recent struggles. No wins in 5 losses in a row for Man City, incredibly, in all competitions heading in to the Champions League fixture against Feyenoord this week. Plus 398. They're still odds on favorite. Barcelona plus 476 on Pinnacle, Real Madrid plus 501, and the top of the table, Liverpool at plus 552. From there, Bayern Munich, Arsenal, and Inter. What do you make of the futures market? I'm a little reluctant to make any play or deal, get involved in this space, just because this competition is so different than previous years. There isn't a whole lot of reference points, and there's a lot of volatility across European domestic football this season as well. So it's just not a market that I'm interested in kind of dabbling in, just not quite yet.
Yeah, it's the same for me. And as you said, the price is there. Manchester City are the big drifters. They've drifted quite a bit. Bayern Munich as well, they were around the similar price to Barcelona, are currently at plus 476. They're out to plus 803. That's a big drift on them, obviously, just based on the fact they've lost a couple of games in this group phase, got a couple of tough games come up as well. So, I think the odds are basically telling us that, that one of these bigger teams, if they don't finish in the top 8, will probably be eliminated in knockout rounds. And I wouldn't be also surprised to see that, because we could end up with 3 or 4 or 5 of those kind of top-end teams finishing in between 9th and 24th, and then all of a sudden you have a two-legged tie, which not only eliminates a potentially good team, but also puts 2 extra games on the legs of the players. Something that you don't really need if you're, like a Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, you want to fight on all fronts. So yeah, it's definitely interesting, and like you said, that I just don't think we're at a stage where we can confidently get involved in the overall winner of the competition just yet. I think we probably look at maybe Matchday 6, where we actually can. You've maybe got 3-4 teams that are already through in the group stage. You might get obviously shorter prices about them winning the competition, but at least you're certain that they're going to be there in the last 16, as opposed to some of these other ones that could get knocked out.
Yeah, I'm with you on all that. Although that Inter number at plus 1536, I mean, that's an enticing one. I'm going to resist the temptation and stay away from now. Okay, so let's look to Matchday 5 in the Champions League, and let's work through sequentially, starting with the Tuesday fixtures, then go to Wednesday. I guess there's a headliner each match day, or each day, I should say, this week. A highlight match on Tuesday and the highlight game on Wednesday as well. Let's start off with Tuesday. Is Bayern Munich hosting PSG? a big day for PSG in the Champions League as they continue to cruise it in Ligue 1. But right now, it's been a difficult start to this competition for PSG, all the way down in 25th place in the table. Bayern Munich are rolling right now, just in terms of both the Champions League as well as domestically. They haven't conceded a goal in 6, and they've won 6 games in a row, as well as Vincent Kompany really has this team playing some decent football right now. You can find Bayern Munich to win this match, minus 177 on Pinnacle. The draw at plus 374 and PSG at plus 432. The handicap is set at a full goal, and the total is set at 3.25, minus 117 for the over, plus 104 for the under. Do you have a feel or a read for this game? I think the magnitude of it maybe changes the way that my perspective on PSG in this competition. But what do you make of this game here?
Yeah, it's fascinating, and like you said, it is kind of must-win for PSG. We did touch on them, when we did a little bit of the outrights and just looking at the setup. The PSG actually have the toughest schedule of any team through this group phase. They've got pretty much top team after top team. Just how the draws worked, it's definitely gone against them. Even more of an issue, the fact that they actually drew at home to PSV, and one of those what you would call more winnable games, losing to Arsenal and Atlético Madrid either side of that, puts them right, the backs are right up against the wall. As you said, they're 25th, which means they're actually outside of the play-in game for the last 16, which will be a huge surprise to see them finish so far down. In terms of this game, I have got no official play, but if I was, I would be making a small pro PSG play, just purely because I don't really trust Bayern Munich against the elite just yet. I think we've seen them so far this season. They got, out-battled by Aston Villa in what was a very close game, and then they just got out-thought by Barcelona, who just completely exploited that high line in which they play. And I think PSG have the capability to do something very similar. Whether they can score enough to win the game, I'm not too sure, but I think that everything's looking rosy in the Bayern garden because they haven't played a good team for a while. A team that is capable of exposing what they do, which is a very high defensive line, squeeze the pitch, and I'd be very interested to see what PSG do, how they set up, but I wouldn't be going near Bayern at this kind of price at minus 177.
Right. I think the value's on the under here. I mean, PSG did go to Arsenal. They lost that game 2-0. I think that is the recipe for success. Bayern Munich's also a team has only conceded once domestically at home thus far this season and have a ridiculous expected goals against of just 1.96. Even PSG in this competition, Jake, despite their struggles, they only have 1.9 expected goals against overall through those 4 games played. The problem is they haven't been scoring goals. 3, 4, 5 conceded, which kind of goes against the grain what the data is showing you there. So, look, Bayern Munich has played a lot of games at home, and a lot of them are staying 3 or below. And I think that this game is just going to be a tighter one, where I think that's the side I want to be on, and I'm a little bit surprised that it's coming at plus money as well. Remember, Bayern Munich, 2 wins and 2-2 in the Champions League. They're down in 17th place. So I just don't think it's going to be an open game of football. I think it's going to be tight, and this line is a little bit too high for my liking. So the unders, I'm happy to take it. It's going to be in my top 3 plays this week as well.
Nice. Yeah, and no matter what the result, there's going to be there's going to be a headline. If PSG lose, then the sky's falling down. They're not going to make it through. Bayern Munich lose, then Vincent Kompany's going to be under serious pressure because obviously getting out of this group league phase must have been must have had it down as nailed on, given how successful they've been in the old edition of the group stage. I mean, they've basically won every game for about 7 years in the old edition of the group stage. So it would be a huge shock if they didn't make it through. So, hopefully we get a good game. Hopefully for you, we don't see many goals though.
Let's deal with Man City and Feyenoord quickly, because Pep signs a new contract to stay at City, but he can't buy a win with it. This club just concedes 4 to Spurs on the weekend, 4 to Sporting in the Champions League last time out. Just defensively, just an absolute mess. But they have to get it right sooner rather than later. And this one, still a minus 514 favorite over Feyenoord at home. The total of this one is set at 3.25, but the over is being juiced out to minus 119. Is this the game where City gets it right? The handicap's at a full 2 goals in this game. I'm tempted to take City, but based upon what we've seen from them, can you back them with any confidence?
Um, Not at that price, no. I fully expect them to score a couple of goals, but Feyenoord are more than capable of going there and scoring as well because City's defensive frailties or more midfield frailties, they're just so easy to play through at the moment, leaving what is a kind of vulnerable defence on transition, leaving them even more exposed. They've already been Feyenoord, they've already been to Girona, scored 3 times, been to Benfica, scored 3 times, so they're more than capable of playing that counter-attacking style of football. Um, I personally will be looking at this game and just looking at both teams to score. -101 seems a pretty simple way in. Um, I think at this moment in time, nobody's going to fear playing Manchester City, really. They've 5 defeats in a row. They've come against a mixture of opponents, but I don't think for a final will be turning up thinking, like almost frightened to play their way. So yeah, I think we'll be in for a good game, but I wouldn't be touching City at that kind of price or touching the handicap. I do think it's quite interesting that before a big showdown at the weekend with Liverpool, they play Liverpool's boss's former club. So it'll be interesting to see if we can glean anything from that. We probably can't. It's just a little bit of extra narrative, I guess.
I'm glad that you brought up that they play Liverpool on the weekend. That will come up as we look ahead to Liverpool, Real Madrid in just a few moments' time. One of my favorite plays of the week, I feel like Arsenal are back. We've been waiting to see it. I thought it was a really convincing performance against Nottingham Forest on the weekend. Now they go to Ruben Amorim's former side in Sporting, who are second in the Champions League table. It's a big game, especially for Arsenal here. I think Sporting's playing with house money a little bit. There's going to be some baked in uncertainty about what they're going to look like playing top competition without the manager who did so well at the club. I just think that Arsenal at +124 is the way to play this one. They don't really give up much in the Champions League, just 3 goals scored and 1 conceded. They can play tight and cagey. Odegaard's back in the team. And just the Arsenal side I saw on the weekend, it gives me a whole lot of confidence going into midweek that they can come away with a result here. Based on Sporting beating City last time out, I kind of feel like this is a little bit of a free shot for them at Arsenal. So I really like backing Arsenal, especially at +124. Go with the better side here. What do you make of this game?
Yeah, I'm definitely on the same lines. It's just there's a bit of uncertainty around Sporting, isn't there? Given that the manager's been there for however many years, done so well, he's no longer there. But I don't think I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that this Arsenal team are better than that City team that they played and beat. I think this Arsenal team are the best team that Sporting will have played all season long. I think defensively they're so much more organised, so much more solid. So I actually looked at the unders, and I think the unders is a real runner. I expected to see the line at 2.5 personally, but we're getting 2.75, which is an added bonus. So at -117. I think the line's been pushed higher because of the result over City. But I don't think that takes into account how bad City are currently. And on that night, they had they had the young lad playing centre half. They had numerous defensive players absent. Obviously, they're still without Rodri. I don't think Arsenal are going to have too much of a problem. And I do think that Arsenal's approach in the Champions League has been very low margin, and I expect that to continue. They've seen 4 goals in 4 games in the Champions League so far this season. All have gone under 2.5 goals. And 3 of Sporting's have actually gone under 2.5. It's only that City game that went over. So chances have been at a premium for the pair. I just think I'm looking at a low-scoring game. I do like Arsenal to win, but I'm going to make my full play is going to be under 2.75 goals, and then I have a small play on Arsenal to win and under 2.5 goals at +498, nearly +500
Woo!
for a win and under 2.5 goals. So yeah, that's the way I'm going to play this one.
It's one of those. It just you feel like it might be a 1-0 game, and Arsenal's it's actually been pushed out to +127. I'm happy to take any extra juice that the market wants to give me on that one. A quick thought, and potentially a play on Inter and RB Leipzig. RB Leipzig are in a bad way right now. They've lost their last 4 games, including last time in the Champions League at Celtic as well. Now they go up against an in-form, a very good Inter side who look just as comfortable scoring goals as they do defending them. Inter, a significant favorite here at -213. Where are you looking at potentially being value in the market for this one?
Yeah, I think Inter win. It's just a question of how they win. And Do I want to take the handicap? We need them to win by a couple of goals to get a full payout. Do we take them to win to nil? Perhaps, but I think Leipzig have got more than enough firepower to get on the score sheet. So I'm actually going to take Inter to win and both teams to score at plus 201. Inter haven't yet conceded in the Champions League, but they've done their best to concede. They've conceded over 2 expected goals at Man City, 1.8 expected goals at home to Arsenal. In total, it's around 1.4 per game in the Champions League and 1.17 in Serie A. So this season, they're actually conceding much more opportunities than they did in the entirety of last season. They've actually conceded in 7 of 13 league games this season as well. And there's no Acerbi either for this game, who's absent, which I think is a bit of a blow. And like I said, Leipzig have got some firepower, and they need it. This is almost last chance saloon. If they lose this, they're kind of cooked. 0 points through 5 games. The max you're going to finish with is 9. I don't think that's going to get you in the top, however many that is, top 24. They've already scored against Atletico Madrid. They've scored twice against Juventus. They scored against Celtic. They've only failed to score against Liverpool, but did create 2 big chances in that game. They scored 18 in 11 Bundesliga games, and their underlying process kind of explains why I'm taking this bet. They're averaging across all competitions 1.5 expected goals 4 per game, so they're creating plenty, but defensively they're conceding 1.75 expected goals against per game, and I just think Inter are going to outscore them here. So Inter to win BTTS at plus 201.
Leipzig have had a dreadful time with injuries. Most of the bigger ones have been at the back or the ones that hold the defensive shape. Xavi Simons is obviously a loss, but they still have a lot of good thinking players in that team as well. Anything else from Tuesday? Actually, have all 3 of my favorite bets of this week come on Tuesday. Barcelona, Brest. Brest has done well in the Champions League here, and we all know the firepower that Barcelona possesses. I was a little bit surprised that both teams to score plays at 108 here. That's a great number for me. Barcelona doesn't have a clean sheet in their last 4. They've gone over in 2.5 in 9 of the last 10. Both teams to score is played in 5 of 7. They have 15 goals scored in 4 Champions League games as well. Barcelona have conceded in their last 3 games at home, including to Espanyol. Like they play such a high line, Jake, that they can concede at any moment. And I think that Brest has been a decent enough side and have shown some real value in them this thus far this campaign. They're a side as well. Difficult time keeping a clean sheet, having kept 1 in 7. They've gone over 2.5 in 4 of 5. Both teams have scored in 6 of 7. They've scored 9 in 4 in the Champions League, a good number. And their last 6 games away from home in all competitions, all of them have gone over 3, and both teams to score has played in their last 4. So if you want to get a little bit more in terms of potential value, you can bring it up to plus 125 to pair the both teams to score with over 2.5 on Pinnacle. I'm happy at just plus 108. You're just adding in the 1-1 potential result right there. So that's my play. Both teams to score at plus 108.
Yeah, I've got both teams to score, but I'm coupling it with a Barcelona win to get a plus 170. I just think Barca are streets clear of Brest, and I know you say they're high at the moment in the group, but they've actually had a very, very easy schedule. They played Sturm Graz, they played Salzburg, they played Leverkusen at home, and they played Sparta Prague. This is a completely different proposition. And interesting, just doing some digging into Brest and their underlying numbers. They are 12th in Ligue 1 at the moment, but they're actually second bottom based on expected points. So they are, in theory, the second worst team in France. Now, we'll take that with a little bit of a pinch of salt because there probably is a bit of team rotation following Champions League games, and obviously you have to factor in the fatigue, etc. But defensively, only Montpellier, who are the second worst team, who are the worst team, have a worse defensive underlying process than Brest. So they are absolutely gettable. And as I've said, they haven't been tested really in this competition just yet. But as you mentioned, they score a lot of goals. They've scored in 13 of 16 matches across league and Champions League. So Barca win, both teams to score. I could see this being like a 3-4, 5-1 or something like that.
Could be. Again, it's kind of a free hit for Brest. Like 4th place, 3 wins and a draw in the Champions League. So the context is there to at least play a little bit more of an open game. Before we move on to the Wednesday fixtures, are you doing your customary play Atalanta and overs? They're at Young Boys in Switzerland midweek, playing on turf. The total set at 3.
No. For whatever reason, Atalanta just seem to leave their goals in Serie A. They haven't really they've not really done it in this competition. They've been involved in 5 goals in 4 matches, which is insane, really. A couple of 0-0s in there, a 3-0 and a 2-0. So we wouldn't have had a winner at this line yet. And Young Boys, I think Barcelona hammered them, didn't they? 5. But either side of that, they've been fairly tight with the goals. So yeah, no Atalanta overs. I'll save that for the weekend.
Just one more really quickly. Atletico Madrid, I got to see where this market is. I missed out on the market when it opened, but they're going to Sparta Prague. And they're 23rd in the table. Like, this is a must win for them. I just missed the boat on the market, but if it shifts back in any way to provide a little bit more value, I will be backing Atleti midweek. That's all for Tuesday. Shall we look ahead to Wednesday? Yep. And it's the big one. It's Liverpool and Real Madrid. Jake mentioned it, and this goes into the way that I'm looking at this game. Head on the weekend, Liverpool, Man City. It's a significant game. Liverpool in cruise control in the Champions League, and Real Madrid look like they're maybe back on track after being smashed last time out in the Champions League to AC Milan, and that Barcelona loss. Like, things weren't looking good, but it seems like Real Madrid potentially have it back on track. I'm surprised you can bet on Real Madrid to win this game plus 311. When was the last time Real Madrid were that much of an underdog entering a game? That's what jumps off the page. If you want to back Liverpool, minus 114, and the total is set at 3. Do you have a play here, Jake, at Anfield on Wednesday?
Yeah, I might be going against the grain, but I'm actually going to take the under 3 at plus 102. And numerous reasons why I think it's actually a value bet and the line's a little bit high. The first one is, for all the firepower that Real Madrid possess, I just don't think Ancelotti is going to turn up at Anfield and play an open game. I think he's going to be very, very aware that they have defensive shortcomings and that Liverpool are one of the better teams at exposing those in entirety of Europe. So I think if Madrid go there to play a toe-to-toe game with Liverpool, I think they'll get beaten quite comfortably. So I do expect Ancelotti to play a little bit more withdrawn. I don't know if that means in terms of personnel or if that means in terms of just how deep they are as a setup and just try and play on the counter-attack, but I think that'll lead to goals. And then you look at Liverpool's games at Anfield so far this season, very low scoring. They played 8 Champions League and Premier League matches so far. This bet would have won in 4 and pushed in 3. So it would be 4-1 in terms of the win and loss column. So we'd be well ahead if you back in this blind. Defensively, they've been excellent, conceding just under 1 expected goal at home and just 3 goals in those 8 matches. And the final point is that Real Madrid have been very low scoring on the travels so far this season. This bet would have won in 5 of 7 away Madrid games and pushed in the other 2. So we actually wouldn't have lost if you'd have backed this blind at this line. So for all the firepower on the pitch, I think we might be in for a cagey 1-0 or 1-1 or something like that.
Okay. I'd be happy with that. I just don't know when I'll ever get a chance to bet Real Madrid on the handicap, basically a double chance to win or draw at plus 102. That for me, I know that Liverpool being good, but again, a little bit of a look ahead spot. It's a big week. Real Madrid, City back to back. You know, they're away from home. Like, how many more times can Mo Salah just like step up and bring this team back from a position where it's a little bit uncomfortable? Then they go in and win the game. I don't think it's been as straightforward as it looks. You're right. They're not conceding a lot of goals. It's a lot of these games are much more low event than typically you'd see from a Liverpool side, especially in previous seasons. So I have no problem mitigating that, looking at things a similar way to you and backing Real Madrid. Real Madrid, by the way, haven't lost to Liverpool. They beat them 3 times in a row, and they haven't lost to them in their last 8 head-to-head. I'm not sure how much you look into the history. It's just sometimes in these matchups, I think Mbappe can do damage down Liverpool's right side, whether Trent Alexander-Arnold can play or not. I believe he's doubtful heading into the game, but I think that's a problematic matchup for Liverpool. And the back line will actually be tested in something that they haven't really been tested that much. So I think they'll play a little bit more safe because of that, which will lead to a lower scoring, tighter match for me. I think we kind of see things playing out in a similar way. Yeah. So we'll leave that alone. Anything else on Wednesday? I just have one other game I'm looking at. Monaco, Benfica. I think that there's some value playing Benfica on the handicap. It's plus a quarter of a goal at minus 112. Look, these two sides are 7th and 8th in expected goal differential per 90 minutes thus far in the Champions League. Monaco hasn't played anyone. They beat Barcelona in that opening match, but Barcelona had Eric Garcia sent off after 10 minutes in that game. Other than that, 3 very straightforward games for them. Benfica being tested. They went to Bayern Munich, gave up a ton of shots, but they held strong. I just think that this is a combative, well-drilled side. And I think that, for me in a pick'em, if you can get a little bit of an edge here, which I think I'm finding, I think Benfica can win this game outright. Wouldn't surprise me. So backing them on the handicap here makes a little bit of sense. That's all in terms of the Wednesday fixtures. I'm not sure if you see anything else on the board, Jake.
No, I have a bet in that game as well. It's actually taking the over. The line's at 2.75, but I think this could be a sneaky good game for goals. They've been very entertaining, the pair, so far this season, but especially in the Champions League. Monaco have gone over 2.5 in 3 of 4, averaging 3.5 goals per game. They've gone over in 10 of the last 13 in all competitions, and Benfica have gone over in 11 of 13 all comps, and over in 3 of 4 in the Champions League as well. That Bayern Munich game, the only one that didn't go over. And yeah, I think that they're both in a position where they'll see this as very, very winnable. I mean, for Monaco, another win, and I won't go as far as saying guaranteed top 8, but they're probably only another result away from that. Whereas Benfica are languishing down in 19th, and it's not quite must-win territory just yet, but I think they're very close to it, and I think that they'll both look at each other and think that this is a beatable team, and I think we might see a bit of an end-to-end clash with plenty of goals in store. So over 2.75 for me.
Brilliant. Anything else in terms of the Wednesday fixtures?
No, it's a bit of a struggle the rest of Wednesday, actually. I do think they were a bit short at plus 139 to beat Juventus, but again, don't have enough trust in Juventus to go there and score. They're such a low-margin team to get a result. I did have a look at Celtic as well at plus 104 because they've been excellent in their 2 home games so far. Bruges, obviously, coming off the back of that win against Villa, just kind of put me off a little bit. I find them a very tough team to gauge. So they were my 2 maybes, were Juventus on the handicap and Celtic, but happy to leave them.
I had the exact same feel, instincts. Both have made my sheet, but I just can't pull the trigger on either one of those games. Let us know your picks and plays in the chat. We'll be back each and every Champions League match day to break down that week's fixtures. Good stuff. Let's finish up. Just confirm your top 3 plays, Jake. What are your top 3 plays in the Champions League this week?
Okay, my favourite is Barca to win and both teams to score. Then it'd be under 2.75 in Arsenal v Sporting, and I'll go with Inter to win and both teams to score at plus 201 as my number 3.
All right. My first, I love the Arsenal to go to Sporting and win at plus 127. My second favorite, Barcelona Brest, plus 108. Both teams to score there. And third, just making the podium, Bayern Munich and PSG to the under 3.25 at plus 104. 3+ money bets in place. Back-to-back shows. We did it on the weekend as well, and that Getafe play to win in the under did cash last week in terms of our other show. Keep on supporting, watching Pinnacle FC. Smash the like button. Please subscribe and tell your friends for the top betting content on market. You tune into this podcast right here for Europe's top domestic leagues as well as the Champions League. On behalf of Jake, best of luck this week, buddy, and myself, Gareth Wheeler. This has been Pinnacle FC.